Welcome to In Season Nevada. Today we're going to be cooking up some delicious striped bass tacos. But I guess you could call them fajitas since they are on flour tortillas and we do grill the onions instead of serving them raw. Start off with a dry brine of 12 to 48 hours. You must season with salt and then you can add whatever spices you enjoy. All right, the next step is going to be to heat up two cast iron pans if you want your onions cooked. I think this will be a great example to show you about how long it's going to take to cook your striped bass. Mainly because striped bass is a little bit more watery than other fish. Make sure you salt your onions to make sure they caramelize a little bit faster. And I think it's going to create a good example because this video is going to be sped up to 4 times speed. So it's going to allow you to see the cooking time compared to an onion, and then that way you really understand that we're going to be applying quite a bit of cooking time to this fish here. Typically, I find that I have to cook striped bass at least 15 minutes on each side, sometimes 20 minutes on each side. So this is going to be medium to medium low heat to avoid over browning that butter. Make sure you give your onions a good stir every once in a while, and I'll check in with you in just a moment. Okay, let's talk about the bloodline. You're going to want to remove the bloodline on your striped bass before putting it into the pan. You can see the fillet on the now top of the pan. What was once on the right of the pan has a little bit more of the bloodline left than the rest of the fillets, and that's not the end of the world. You want to remove the vast majority of it though, mainly because it can add bitter flavors to your fillet, which is not the most appetizing, but just a little bit won't affect flavor too much. All right, you're going to notice that I flipped over 2 of the fillets, but not the third one. That's because the third one was not properly browned yet, which is not the end of the world. It's just sitting on a slightly cooler side of the pan. So I scoot the pan over so that side of the pan heats up a little bit more. It browns the fillet very nicely, and then I simply flip it over and continue cooking. We're going to be cooking the striped bass for a long time, so it's not a big deal if 2 of the fillets cook a little bit faster than the other one. You just simply can adjust on the second half of cooking by simply scooting the pan over and allowing the other side of the pan to be a little bit hotter versus the first side. You don't want the pan to get too hot though, mainly because we are cooking with butter, and that butter can go from brown to burnt very quickly if you heat up the pan too fast. So that's why we're keeping the pan at a nice steady temperature. Okay, now that our onions are just about perfect, we're going to go ahead and remove those and set them off to the side temporarily while we cook up our tortillas. Now, no matter how you get your tortillas, you must heat them up before serving. It doesn't matter what brand you buy, you always got to heat up your tortillas. Something to note here, if you notice, off to the side, our striped bass is still cooking, right? This just goes to show you that you can cook quite a wide variety of things in a different pan on a different burner while you're cooking up your striped bass. So you're going to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. It's good to multitask because striped bass is a very slow type of cooking. And it's, in my opinion, this is the best method to cook striped bass. We use the leftovers from today in order to make breakfast the next day, and we cooked striped bass fish hash. So now let's go to plating our fajitas here, or our tacos. You can plate it with whatever you prefer. I like a little bit of pickled cabbage. I think that adds a nice acidity to my taco. And my wife doesn't prefer pickled cabbage, so she's just going to get green sauce. And there's also a lot of lime in my green sauce. So I don't add any extra lime to the taco because there's a lot of lime juice in the green sauce already. Extra for my wife because she likes it real spicy. But now we just top it off with our grilled onions here and just pick it up and take a bite out of it, and this is delicious. So now you've got at least one really easy, quick recipe that you can use for striped bass and make a nice meal within an hour or less. So thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.